Yo, what up? Welcome back to Bird MMA, your favorite place for degeneracy, the only place you're going to find bets on every single fight. I apologize for the late video here. Been a little slam with work. Also, this is a really tight card. I will say straight off the bat, this is one of those low confidence cards. Don't let these lines fool you and play a bunch of money on the lines. The lines are close for a reason because any fighter can win any of these fights. Almost every single fight. So there's only like one spot, which you might think is crazy, that I'm super confident on, and you'll find out later. But let's get right into it. So first fight, Loma Lukebumi versus Alexia Thainera. So what I seen on film, Lukebumi, she's a Muay Thai fighter. She has great experience. She has improved her grappling a bit. She gets taken down a lot. She has in the past. And she's a lot smaller and a lot less physically imposing than Thainera. I think she has trouble. She's going to have trouble with Thainera's grappling. Once she's down, she's going to have a lot of trouble getting back up. I think Thainera's the truth. So I do like Thainera on that side. Her takedown time is pretty sick. So I do have her in a parlay. That's a pretty solid parlay piece I do like there. After that, we got Brendo Pericic versus Alicia Ellison. So Ellison, he's actually a part-time fighter. He works as a security guard. He's only been fighting for about 2 years, which we'll get into a little bit. So I think someone's getting finished here. Neither fighter has ever gone to decision. Better yet, in pro fights, either of them have never left the first round once. So where do we bet here, right? It's like the line is crazy. Where do we bet? So Pericic's fight, he literally fights like he hates you. Like he has somewhere to be after the fight. He's trying to get it over with. He has 6 inches on Ellison. He has decent striking, but mainly uses it to get into the clinch where he does his best work against the cage. I would be surprised if this fight leaves the first round. I couldn't find a ton of film on Ellison, but as of June 2025, he's only been fighting for 2 years and 3 months. And from what I did find on him in film is he does have pretty quick hands. So his stand-up looks all right. People say he's sloppy, but I think his stand-up looks all right. He has a nice double leg, but isn't very active on top after landing them. I think that's due to inexperience. And he leaps into punches, which is, par with the course, being that he is new to fighting. And when he backs up with his hands down. He has a decent jab, good footwork. You could tell he's very athletic. So I think he will be all right eventually. But what concerns me is the level of competition that Ellison has fought. His opponents he had beat, it's not really much different for Pericic, but Ellison's opponents, if you look it up on ShareDog, he hasn't really beaten many. A combined record of 11 and 26. So that does call for concern here, especially that he's going into Pericic's backyard. Pericic's line, it was only at 174. It kind of got juiced at this point, which sucks. Wish I got that out earlier. But he's way bigger, and I think the line, like I said, when I wrote the notes earlier this week, I assumed that the line was going to get spread out a little bit, which it did. This is definitely a degenerate play, but the more I read into it, just due to the level of experience, what I'm hearing out of Pericic's gym, I do like Pericic. I do have a KO prop on him, not just general KO, but that'll be on my page on Patreon. So I do like Pericic on this spot. Next fight, we got Michelle Montag versus Luana Carolina. I'm going to make this quick. Listen, Carolina has gotten taken down by Storyalenko, right? And she mostly gets taken down and probably subbed in this fight. She's a lot smaller. Not a lot smaller, but smaller to where it calls for concern. And isn't very dangerous on the feet. So I do like Montag in here. Again, I have that in a parlay, which you can sign up on Patreon and see. First week is free, right? What's there to lose? But keep in mind, when you sign up over here, we don't do this $250 units where you get 2 fights. We have a bet on every single fight. That's our stick over here. When you come to our Patreon, it's $10 a month, $2.50 a card, and you are going to get a bet on every single fight. And how we protect ourselves is through bankroll management. So if we're not super confident on a fight, we'll try to find a prop, or we'll go 2/5 of a unit, which you'll see. So if you match the units, we usually do pretty well. So you got to throw $100 in the account, and just every fight, let that thing keep building up. We do 1 parlay a week, and we do have a few spots that we're going to hammer this week. Really, there's only one. And that's how we do it over here. So we protect ourselves through bankroll management, but this is your favorite place for degeneracy And we like watching a card and having action on every card. All right. So if you're not into that and you're actually trying to gamble to like, oh, I want to make money in the long run, I want to be a sharp, good luck, buddy. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to do that. If you could break even or make a little bit of profit, which is what we're doing over here, that's really the goal over here. To have fun, you're paying for entertainment. And we're doing a bet on every single fight. Maybe you'll bet every single one of my bets that I have. Maybe you'll do a few spots you like I just said, or maybe you'll do every one. Because when the weeks get hot, brother, it gets hot. Next fight, we got Colby Thicknesse versus Josias Musasa. In the beginning, I kind of went back and forth on that because Thicknesse, he is very well-rounded. It's odd because I've seen him shoot takedowns or initiate the clinch in almost every fight, but he has a 0% takedown average online, which I don't think is accurate. But if you really watch him, his takedown threat isn't, like, he does it a lot, but it's not valid. Like, he'll shoot for a lot of takedowns in a fight, but he rarely lands them. In his fight versus Kakembo, he shot 3 takedowns in the first 3 minutes from across the cage, and they were all denied. So for the amount of takedowns he shoots, his takedown accuracy is absurd to me. Musasa actually has very solid takedown defense. He utilizes leg kicks to the body, but he's slightly slow with them. But he will keep throwing them in order to keep his range. He will go body, leg to drop your hands, like he will go to your legs so you drop your hands. I will sneak a leg kick up top when he can. He mainly throws kicks at distance. When throwing punches, he'll blitz and duck his head a little bit in order to get into the clinch, almost like Cam Rosen. He will drop his left hand when throwing a straight down the middle, so that does leave his chin a bit exposed. He isn't very technical on the feet, but he will stay active at range from getting into the pocket, right? He doesn't want you to get into the pocket with him. We're talking about Thicknesse here, by the way. So he will like try to keep the range with his leg kicks, stay outside. He enjoys doing that, and he does have good cardio. He's your typical Aussie fighter. He has good cardio, a solid chin. He ate a mean shot for Alessandro Topuria. And he, just like his kicks though, his hands are slow, and his chin is very exposed when throwing them. He is very counterable due to the lack of speed in his kicks and hands, and there's not much power behind him. And he will shell up when opponents enter the pocket. So when people enter the pocket on him, he will just kind of put his hands up and back up against the cage, almost close his eyes. So in this spot, I do think Musasa is strong enough to deny the takedowns. And who's calling me? Oh, sorry. Deny the takedowns, and I think he gets the dub, and I do like the line here. So, yeah, I like Musasa in this fight. Next up, we got Jamie Mullarkey versus Rolando Bedoya. Mullarkey has 3 of his 6 KO losses in the past 2 years. Exactly. That's never a good sign. All but one were in the UFC, so he has been getting clipped in the pros. Bedoya hasn't been knocked out, but also he does have a UFC win. I'm sorry, he does not have a UFC win yet. He's 0-3 in the organization. 3 of his 4 losses have been in the UFC. Most likely, the loser in this fight is going to get cut. Bedoya is hittable, but has a good chin. He has good leg kicks, but he does leave the chin in the air when punching. He relies on his toughness to kind of grit out wins. He has very little head movement at times. He seems like he can focus on his defensive head movement better. He could probably do that a little better when he stops trying to throw. But when he starts throwing, he abandons his defense a little bit. He doesn't do well at that, and he has trouble combining his defense and offense. It's almost like he's trying to do one thing at a time. He throws looping punches. He used to fight at welterweight. His footwork kind of prevents him from landing punches at range, and he does get hit a lot on his feet, but is a certified blockhead. All right, he's your typical Latino fighter, typical blockhead. He ate a lot of shots from Chaos Williams, which is a good sign for his chin. He has good cardio, but he doesn't land a lot. But when he does land, it can hurt you. Mullarkey's chin does concern me in this one, but I do give him a pass for his Nasrat and Rufi knockouts. All right, you got to give him a little bit of grace for that. He also was clearly winning against Naimov before he got caught sleeping. Mullarkey has great footwork. I think this will be a major factor in this fight. If you watch the film, he does have a lot better footwork, where Bedoya is kind of stationary. You saw how Bedoya fought against Jai Herbert. He got picked apart for 3 rounds, and I do think Mullarkey can do the same in this one. So I think Mullarkey learned from his recent knockout losses. He took a little bit of time off, which he should have did earlier, and I think he gets back in the win column by decision here. So give me Jamie Mullarkey by decision. but that may not be my official bet because the line shifted a little bit. Next up, we got Cam Roston versus Andre Petroski. Be careful with this one, guys. Anyone could win this one. I know Cam Roston is hot off his Contender Series fight, but he does have a 3-inch height advantage. He's one of Adesanya's training partners at City Kickboxing. He has 13 years of experience under his belt. His only loss since 2019 was to Torres Finney, who's just a matchup nightmare for almost anyone in the division. He uses his reach really well. He has good side and high kicks. He will shoot takedowns and mix it up. Specifically, his swing singles are pretty nice. He's very good at getting those due to his length and reach. Has great cardio and pressure. Stays at one pace and tries to break you pretty much, which is kind of the theme of a lot of these Aussie fighters. They don't have a ton of power, but they will stay in your face and wear you out. And they kind of make up for the lack of skill because they're very gritty. He can be sloppy at times, roasted with the takedowns. He could be sloppy with his takedowns and striking late in the fights, but it's almost like he's one of those guys he's one of those guys that will keep fighting even though he's tired. Kind of like Dricus du Plessis. He doesn't have the fastest hands or the best footwork, but he is very effective because he can do everything well and mixes up the grappling very well. He scrambles well, but sometimes will go for submissions a little too early and loses position. He does show a ton of urgency when getting back to his feet on bottom, which I do like, especially against Petroski here. But it's odd because there's moments where he fights like Adesanya and he looks good from the outside. And there's others where he looks like RDR, just kind of getting close, closing the distance and dipping his head in order to get into the clinch to do his best work. He will shell up and shoot takedowns when pressured, and sometimes he won't land them. I see a scenario where whoever doesn't get tired wins this fight, which Petroski, you have seen him gas in a lot of his fights. Petroski, though, he is an aggressive grappler. He will be at a major striking disadvantage here, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are gassing up his striking, but I do think he will be at a disadvantage here. All right, so the key here is Petroski, can he land the takedowns? Usually he has a major grappling advantage in all his fights. When he doesn't, he struggles to get the fight to the mat, and he tends to look exposed on the feet. I've seen Petroski have fights where he ends up just striking because he can't get it to the mat. All right, so if he can't be the hammer, he kind of struggles a little bit. Jacob Malkoun was able to put him on his back foot by initiating grappling first, which Rosen will do, I feel like, against almost anyone. Rosen is 100% going to initiate the grappling no matter who he's fighting, and he's going to try to use his length and pressure. When Petroski overextends, I can see Rosen initiating the clinch. He's going to have to wear on Rosen. He's going to have to wear Rosen for 3 rounds. Rosen, I see a scenario where he's kind of hanging on Petroski all fight. And he'll show that he also shows that he keeps fighting when tired, like I said earlier. So I went back and forth on this. I do have a bet on it, but I'm going to protect myself through bankroll management. But I do like the Rosen side. And again, you can see that on Patreon. So we're moving along here. Let's make this quick. Navajo Sterling versus Rodolfo Bellato. All right. This is another close one. It's closer than the odds because Rodolfo is kind of a dog, even though he quit in his last fight. But Sterling mixes his strikes up nicely. He likes to use his jab to set us straight up. His jab straight is his knockout combo that he heavily relies on, and I think that's the key factor here. He tends to throw naked kicks a little bit, which is concerning. I don't see the power in Sterling's hands either unless he catches you. He kind of seems slow as well. He does gas out in a lot of fights. You could tell he knows he gasses out a little bit by the way he fights. He'll never overextend or overthrow. He'll never throw more than 2 strikes, honestly. And it almost seems like he is purposely saving his energy for later, which I guess is good. He does miss on a lot of his straights, and he's not very active on the feet. He's your typical Adesanya City Kickboxing counter fighter. He does dip his head when in the pocket and can get caught, but looks like he has a good chin. He's definitely the younger fighter, which is good for us here. Bellato is a very susceptible. One thing I saw from Bellato watching film, he is very susceptible to the straight down the middle. I saw him get rocked with the right hand on a few of his fights. You saw in the Crute fight, he was getting caught with it over and over again, and was even dropped in the first round due to a straight right, even though Crute's, it's not really the straightest right. It's a bit of a looping punch, but kind of caught him over the guard and dropped him. So that is kind of the key, I think, here. Every time a punch comes, he drops his hands. This is Bellato, so he kind of drops his hands and worries about his head movement. And he'll just, eat shots. Like, it's almost like he's trying to move his head and forgets to keep his hands up, and he relies on his chin, and he'll just eat shots. But I've seen him get dropped, and I don't think he's fought a striker with the timing that Sterling has. So his only chance here is the takedown, but we've seen that Sterling can deny some takedowns and is serviceable on the mat. I think Bellato's fighting style is either going to bring I think it's going to be a situation where he brings the best out of Sterling. Sterling likes to stay outside and pick his shots. Bellato is going to march forward and try to make it ugly like he does in every fight. He has a nice body hook. Bellato just eats too many shots for me, though, for me to feel comfortable betting him. I really wanted to find a spot because I do like his line, and he is tough, and he does hit hard. But he just eats too many shots, relies on his chin too much. And I think Sterling, he's too good with that right down the middle. And I see a scenario with that specific shot catches Bellato and puts him out. So, yeah, give me Sterling in this fight by knockout. Then we have Tom Nolan and Charlie Campbell. I think this is a really close fight. I would take Charlie. I would have considered him a lot more, and I went back and forth. Again, please be careful with this one. But I ended up going with Nolan just because Charlie's a late addition, even though he has been training and mimicking Tom Nolan in his camp, preparing his fighters to fight Tom Nolan. But I just think Nolan in this one is too fluid of a striker. He will start feeling himself at range and rush in sometimes, but that's just because he's so young. He's very skilled and he knows how to use all his skills, but he's still green. He keeps his foot on the gas pedal from outside with good technique at distance, using his length. He's good at measuring up, but lacks power, all right? So he's good at measuring the distance, but lacks power when he finally does throw. His striking is methodical, but he can be a little bit slow. His chin tends to be stationary in the pocket because his head, he kind of head hunts at times. And everything really looks good besides the power. That's the only concerning, where if you look at Charlie Campbell, the dude, he's wound tight and he's ready to go for the knockout. That's his style. So, like, Nolan's style, it does concern me, especially when he starts striking and ends up in the pocket and tries to land into the clinch. It does happen a lot. If he had the power to match his striking ability, he would be an absolute problem, like future champ potential. He seems to have an okay takedown defense, but can get taken down a lot. He does well with short hooks and elbows right out of the break. That's why I saw him do a lot. So when he does like strike and get too close and end up in the clinch, he will break and then throw an elbow or a short hook, which he does catch people a lot with. And he's constantly putting pressure on an opponent while keeping his opponent. Like, he'll constantly put pressure at range on his opponent while keeping his opponent on the end of his punches. His length makes takedowns difficult. He's not great at sprawling, but he's good at getting his back to the cage and framing away on the feet. He also has decent get-ups on bottom, which I like. He can easily keep the pressure for 3 rounds. It looks like he has good cardio. He's a sneaky good wrestler as well. I'm pretty sure he did wrestle in order to get him prepared for rugby. And he will shoot takedowns if he feels like he has the edge here. So we might see where he tests that a little bit. He really lets his hands go in the pocket. Like I said, especially on the breaks, he has better footwork. He's younger, longer. Campbell, he's only gone to decision 3 times. So one of them was against Trevor Peek, which really doesn't count because Trevor Peek isn't normal. And like I said, he's coming off short notice, so that is the deciding factor for me. But again, be careful. Anybody could win this fight. Campbell is very explosive. When you watch him fight, it's almost like you're holding your breath. He looks wound, tight, and ready to explode when fighting. He can be a little low output at times. When he lets his hands go, they go. Like, his hands go when he lets them go. But I don't think he's as technical as Nolan. He loads up on everything, has good leg kicks. He uses them a lot, though, which is good for him. I think the difference in this fight, though, like I said, is going to be his ability to close and keep range, which I think he'll have trouble with. When you watch Campbell, yes, he generates a lot of power, but it's primarily due to him planting his feet whenever he throws. Nolan is much lighter on his feet, which allows him to maintain range better and pot shot you off of his back foot. I can see him eventually putting pressure on Campbell towards the end of the fight after making Campbell miss for 2 rounds. Also, I think Nolan has a bit of a grappling edge. Like I said earlier, both fighters are very good, though. So, yeah, I do like Tom Nolan in this one. So give me Tom Nolan. But be careful with that one, guys. All right, then this is the big one, baby. Big JT Justin Tafa versus Louis Sutherland. I see a lot of people coming in with the Louis Sutherland hype. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. He was in the PFL before parting ways. He's never shot a takedown before, I'm pretty sure. Sutherland does have good power, but his technique isn't good enough to where it matters against an experienced fighter. He has decent leg kicks, but he's very stiff on the feet. Like, you could tell he's a PFL fighter. When he jabs, he sticks his chin out. He isn't known for his grappling, but can grapple enough to give any Tafa brother issues. I mean, come on, anybody can give a Tafa brother issues with the grappling. If he doesn't get Tafa out in round 1, though, or tries grappling and Tafa gets up once, he's done for. Like, absolutely done for. In his fight against Abraham Babley, if you go look that up on UFC Fight Pass, in the PFL, he got taken down and controlled for 4 minutes and got up swinging with his arms out to his sides and absolutely exhausted himself. Like, that was 3 years ago, but still, that's not a good sign when you're fighting a Tafa brother. If you look at Tafa's last fight, even though he lost, in that first round, he almost got his opponent out of there. I forget who he was fighting when I was watching film, but his hands look quick, bro. Them Jones look quick. And again, in Sutherland's fight against Babley, I saw him overcommit a lot of times and get caught. And his footwork is very, very stationary. And if you don't have good footwork, you're not going to be able to get your opponent to the mat. And even if he does, if Tafa gets up once, which you saw in his last fight, or not his last fight, 2 fights ago, he was able to get up once or twice, I believe. He kept getting mat returned, but he was actually able to do decent at the takedown defense. You could tell he's been working on it, and now he has more time to work on it. So it makes me like Tafa anymore. Like, I'll never say lock and Tafa in the same sentence, but this is my most confident spot on the card. Because, like I said, Sutherland gasses after round 1 and stops throwing completely. He's gonna try to turn it into a slugfest, and a slugfest is exactly what a Tafa brother wants. So I see exactly what the UFC is doing here. Sutherland doesn't grapple enough for me to fade Tafa. He hasn't been in the UFC enough for me to fade Tafa. I do like Tafa. Sutherland's too low output. If you can't put Tafa on his back foot with either grappling or striking, you're gonna just be a sitting duck. Tafa is a bit smaller, but he has fluid striking. Like I said, he's fast. I think that will be the difference here. Both fighters have power, but Tafa is much more fluid, and much faster. And his leg kicks are absolutely wicked. I see a scenario where Tafa is piecing Sutherland up on the feet, and Sutherland has to land a takedown to survive, and he's a sitting duck, like I said. So Tafa either has improved his takedown defense, or he's going to need to get back up. And if he can do either of those, I think he gets the dub here. If he denies once and gets back to his feet, he wins by knockout, potentially in the first round. I don't think it's close on the feet. Like, I think if it's on the feet for more than 2 minutes, Tafa's knocking him out. I truly believe that. Even in his fight against Carl Williams, like I said, he did okay at getting back up in the first round. And lastly, against Carl Williams, that reminds me, whatchamacallit? Sorry, let me switch to Zinski here. Sorry. A lot of Tafa's takedowns, they were due to him overcommitting. You could tell he was feeling that knockout bubbling, and he overcommitted a few times and got taken down. So I do like Tafa a lot here. I'm sorry. I'm going to do it one more time. If he burns me this time, I'm done with every Tafa brother. If I get burned by a Tafa brother again, I'm done. But I'm going Justin Tafa, first round knockout. Next fight, Jake Matthews versus Neil Magny. If you look who Magny has lost to, they're all studs. Like, he's lost to all studs. He's known for beating up the newcomers. Like, he's your typical gatekeeper. And Jake Matthews is in a weird position where it seems like he's been a prospect for 37 years. But every time they give him a test, he's failed. But he passed his last one against Chidi and Drukwani. I do like Matthews here, but the odds aren't where I want him to be. I think he's better, and I do think he wins. If it was a pick'em line, I would definitely bet Matthews. But I'm just going to go with a prop on this one, which you can see on my Patreon. But I do think the lines are closer than they indicate, and I think it's due to Matthews' size and due to Magny's striking ability and his experience. I think Matthews is going to have to take this to the mat in order to win, and you see he did that in his last fight. So I do like a little sub prop on Matthews. Then a few more. Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Tavares. This is another close one. Don't be fooled by that minus 220 odd. All right? Do not be fooled by that because Ramon Tavares, he got some hands, bro. Jenkins reminds me kind of like a prime Marlon Moraes. He has vicious leg kicks, which we've all heard about every time they're going to say he broke somebody's fibula. We know. But I do think that's the deciding factor here. He doesn't have the best hands or movement, Jenkins, but he does have a good high guard, which protects him. Tavares also doesn't have the best head movement from what I saw. He also doesn't check leg kicks, and he fights out of southpaw, which I said. So, like I said, those leg kicks are gonna be a huge factor. Tavares will try to lift his leg every single time. He won't check leg kicks. He'll just kind of try to lift it, which will kind of keep him stationary enough to keep getting leg kicked. And like I said, he fights out of southpaw, where Jack Jenkins is orthodox, so he's gonna be able to really chew up the inside of that leg. Tavares does have quick hands, but I think that Jenkins in this fight is going to be able to absolutely chew that front leg up. Tavares has a very wide stance, which is why he's able to counter so well and move so well. Jenkins is a bad matchup for him. Tavares relies heavily on his front leg. He plants on it heavy to get out of the pocket because he's in and out. He likes to counter you. And by the time he's in the pocket, he plants on that front leg, gets out. And if he gets leg kicked too much, he's not going to be able to do that. So I think the longer the fight goes and the more he eats him, it's going to spell bad news for him. If you look at the Davy Grant fight, Davy Grant in the third round was chewing up that front leg. So if Davy Grant is able to do that, I can't imagine what Jack Jenkins is going to be able to do with those leg kicks. Jenkins will go upstairs with his kicks once you drop your hands. I can see a scenario where Tavares starts trying to catch those leg kicks because he doesn't check them. And Jenkins' only KO was due to an injury, so he never really been knocked out. So as long as he doesn't get caught with one of those straights down the middle while throwing a naked leg kick, I think he ends up chewing up that leg enough to make Tavares stationary, and I think he gets the dub here. So I do have a play on Jack Jenkins there. Then two more. We got Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Erslan. This is another one that's kind of close because Erslan has good striking. But Erslan has gotten taken down by a kickboxer who can't wrestle on Navajo Sterling. Navajo has good defensive grappling, like most city kickboxer guys, but he's not an offensive wrestler, and he was able to take Erslan down. And Crute will be able to bring the fight to the mat and kind of do whatever he wants, I think, in this one. And you saw in his last fight versus Marcin Prachnio that when he goes in for a single or a double, he really holds on to it and tries to finish it. He won't just try to push you up against the cage. He will chain wrestle and get that thing to the mat. Crute has losses to a lot of tough guys again. Jamal Hill, Alonzo Menafield, he fought him twice. And his BJJ is extremely underrated. I think the time off for him to fix his mental health was super necessary. That's why he retired early. But it seems like it's fixed. He had a little bit of AA issues, which I think it seems like he's on the other side of it. And he's a little more focused than he used to be. Like they said, he had a very unhealthy obsession with MMA. One thing about Crute, though, you saw in his last fight, he kind of tests his striking too much until he feels the takedown is there or he's getting bested on the feet. But it seems like ever since his retirement, he kind of had a rebirth where he realizes he is a good grappler and he could dominate a lot of fights using his grappling, but he kind of tests his striking out too much. Erslan, though, is low output, and he hasn't won a fight in the UFC, and he's 33. That's the big thing that popped out to me. He has decent durability, but can get wobbled, so he's durable, but he does get wobbled in a lot of fights. And he has good striking. I think this can benefit us in the sense that it will force Crute to grapple. As stated before, I think this fight stays on the feet longer than we're comfortable with. But once Crute realizes he's getting bested on the feet, he will decide to bring it to the mat. Because Erslan will throw swinging hooks, and he'll try to make it a brawl when he does go, even though he's low output, because when he goes, he turns it into a brawl. But I noticed when he gets taken down, he has good tenacity of trying to get back up, but he almost immediately gives his back every time he's been taken down. He almost got subbed by Cutelaba that way, and he panics on bottom a little bit, which can be effective because a lot of times he can get it back to his feet. But against a good grappler and Crute, I think if he panics and tries to give up his back in order to get up, I do think he gets choked out in this one. He got rear naked choked on the regional scene almost the same exact way, And Crute is very composed on bottom. Like, he'll control you and he'll wait for his spots because he is a high-level BJJ player. So and also one thing I saw was if Cutelaba in his fight against Urslan had better IQ and cardio, he probably would have subbed him, to be completely honest. So what I'm seeing here is I think it's a scenario where Crute is testing his stand-up. He realizes he's getting bested a little bit, and he takes him down against the sub. Hopefully it goes to round 2. It's a little free play for you. I do like Crute by round 2 sub. And then lastly, I didn't do a ton of film on this one. I'll be completely honest because I have a bias. So don't tell me on this one because don't tell me because I'm going just straight with my gut on this one. I like the odds. I think Reyes is back, baby. He is that guy. He's an elite athlete. I think he put so much into beating John Jones and then losing that he kind of had a mental lapse and he came back too early after his knockout against Jury, his knockout against Jan, and again, come on, he was fighting Prime Jan in 2020 during COVID, right? He was fighting Prime Jan in his prime, and he lost. And then he was fighting Prime Yuri before his Pereira knockouts, and he lost. But even in that fight, if you look at it, he was catching Yuri, whatever you want to say, Jiri. He was catching him with that straight left down the middle. That's his weapon, that straight left down the middle. He was catching Yuri a lot. So yeah, I think Dom is back, baby. Again, don't tell me. I think he's the better athlete. I think he comes out and gets the dub here. Yeah, give me Dom Reyes. I'm not going to touch the money line. I have a bet, though, that I do like a lot involving Dom Reyes. Let's go, Dom. Let's go, Big Dom. So, yeah, give me Dom Reyes. So, that's it. I will give you my parlay. I did an absolute degenerate parlay here. I'm doing half a unit plus 673. I'm going Jack Jenkins. I'm going Perachik. I'm going Thynera. And then I'm going Montag sub. Again, sorry for the late post. Be careful with this card. It's a low confidence one. This is a very competitive card. Be careful just betting money lines and stuff like that. But we're degenerates, so we're doing that anyway. So thanks for tuning in. All right, I'll see you next week. We have a loaded October. I'm going to get right back to the books and start on next week and try to get that video out by next Wednesday. So again, if you want to see my official bets, go right to Patreon. Let's cook up. Bird Dog Bets. Let's go.